Hello, everyone. This is Robin with Scaling Up, and I'm really excited to have Lily Anderson, licensed clinical social worker, on today for the Uplift interview series. We are just thrilled with all of the interviews we've had so far. We have definitely felt a lot of excitement and joy learning of all the amazing success and healing and progress that people are making with all of the protocols that we offer at Scaling Up. And today, Lily is going to talk to us mostly about the ASSIST protocol. So, Lily, before we get started, please take a minute to tell our audience a little bit about who you are, where your practice is at, and kind of what you focus on in your psychotherapy practice.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Robin. So I have a private practice in Bloomington, Illinois, kind of covering the central Illinois area. I work with clients of all ages, also child and parent dynamics. My focus really is with complex developmental attachment traumas, along with dissociation disorders as well, dissociative disorders and mood disorders. So, but a couple exciting things though that are coming around the corner is that I am starting an LLC, the Larimar Center, that's going to include more research and instruction. I've been training to be a consultant, an EMDR consultant under Deanie Liliotis. So this is a really great experience and integration to put in there, as well as some participating in non-for-profit organizations like Need Shelter, especially during this time during the pandemic. So yeah, it's in a nutshell, that's where I'm at.
Wow, that's really exciting. I would definitely love to be able to make sure that people can find you in your new organization once it's up and running. So at the end of the interview, I would love for you to share how folks can find you online.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the work you do. I know that working with people on healing their trauma can be so rewarding and challenging, but with the right tools and the right support and the right, therapeutic modalities, that can feel much more possible and less daunting. So I know that you want to talk about the ASSIST today. So since integrating the ASSIST into your practice, what have been some of the positive themes or patterns that you've noticed with clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So working with complex trauma, I've had many clients who have not, especially in the beginning, have not been able to even talk or think about some of the traumatic memories that they had in the past. And it's taken a lot of different types of preparation and whatnot, and but still just a very slow process. And what I've found so exciting since taking the training is that utilizing the ASSIST with some of these clients is not just one, but quite a few that have complex trauma have been able to break them through take down their level of distress to a point where they can start processing trauma in the basic EMDR integrated ways. So yeah, so for example, I have one client who I was with where she came from basically a crisis center. Okay. And is a young client, but she had had many instances or significant traumas in childhood with attachment, bullying at school, these things that brought depression and anxiety in her life. And so getting into these memories to help process and heal was very difficult for her. But once I took the training, I learned about ASSIST, where we're going back to the body, where we're going back and focusing on the particular memory, which really was triggered by a recent event, right? Because these are recent events, they're ongoing protocol. But what was happening in the present was allowed her to go back into the past and start desensitizing these very traumatic memories to where now she's at a point where before she was being hospitalized and afterwards even coming out with subjective level of distress scale of, 8, 9, 10. Now in our weekly check-ins, she's at 2s and 3s, and this is even during the pandemic.
Wow.
And we've been able to now go into the regular or the basic EMDR protocols to be able to pinpoint then these other target memories that she was never able to even speak of without really getting out of her window of tolerance. So it's very exciting to see that.
That is really exciting. So it sounds like by using the assist, you were able to, and actually she was able to, right? She was able to get to a place where approaching those really old and really painful traumatic memories and events in her own mind and in her body became less scary or less overwhelming. She was, emotionally able to approach them since the stress had been taken down so far. Wow. That's incredible. I'm really excited for her, and that you got to be there with her and guide her through that process because, yeah, being able to get to the place where you feel like you can, okay, I can emotionally and mentally and like my body's ready to begin to heal, and how the assist was, part of the process in getting her there. So that's really fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, just to add to that, but the assist is so non-threatening because you're already dealing with an ongoing, a traumatic event, or a trigger, an external trigger that's coming in. That's whether it's with COVID, whether it's relational, whether it's something that just came up. You're still able to do the timeline and go back and desensitize, and it allowed her to see that it's okay and I can do this when I'm paying attention to my body. So just blending it all together has been really exciting, and not just her as well. I've definitely seen this in other clients as well.
Yeah, that's great. So you don't even, it's something that is helpful with something that's happening in the present day. So it sounds like for her, the stress in the present day was an issue and was kind of causing her distress, of course. But resolving that also helped to resolve some of the extra distress around the other traumatic memories that she wanted to work on as well, that weren't necessarily related on the outside or on the surface level to what she was experiencing in the present day.
Exactly. So she would come in with, whether depressive or symptoms or anxiety, and depending on what there was, and we'd identify the current trigger. Mm-hmm. And so whether it was, again, whether it was within a relationship or lack thereof, a situation that occurred, or again, even with the pandemic now and the things that have come up. And so that we're able to identify that, but allow her to float back. Mm-hmm. And again, be able to, and it's amazing how, again, my clients will, when they run the movie, they pick things they didn't think that would even matter. And they're like, oh yeah, well, this part's really bothering me the most, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so let's go there, let's stick with it. And again, just running through the protocol and allowing them to go through the desensitization process to where it's manageable. We bring it down under 3. And then after a while, future tense, we're able to go back and reprocess those fully.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Is that something you expected to see, or was that a little bit of a surprise to you?
So, I think the amount of success was a surprise, but I remember sitting in the training and thinking, okay, external triggers, right? These are, although they're not necessarily traumatic events, they're still external and creating a reaction. Yeah. And if that's the case, then could we apply this then to these long-term situations that we can identify different points? So I remember in the training actually being very excited to take this back and trying these protocols. And again, the assist has been the most significant one, but IDTP and the CRACI, they've also been very successful in person as well as online.
Yeah.
So, but again, so to your question about like the surprise, I was pleasantly surprised how well they continue to work online.
Yeah, yeah. So you've been you used the assist in person before the pandemic and quarantine kind of things, and then now using them online, you're surprised that they're still just it works just the same. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, there's the important part of the rapport and the connection that you have. But again, once they've experienced, they've tried it, they've tasted it, if you will, and has had that experience, they know how well it works, and they know that okay, you're right here and doing the protocol, and again with the assist R, the preparation with that to make sure that they're doing well, has been really, yeah,
Yeah.
quite successful.
Yep. That's great. I'm excited to hear that, you've noticed that there isn't much of a difference between doing it in person and doing it virtually online. Because I know a lot of clinicians and a lot of, participants in our trainings have asked, how will this feel to the client? How will it feel to me to be doing something like this through a computer? We're not in the same room. We have this piece of technology in between us.
Right.
But it sounds like for you, the experience has been, not just only successful, but has felt good to you too. Like it doesn't feel off or weird. I guess I'm kind of assuming that based on what you're saying, but is that
Yeah.
true? Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And of course, in the beginning, we're always a little bit like, okay, we're moving to telehealth. Like, what is that going to be? But again, we check in with them. I'm right here. I'm letting them, that I love, and I use these questions too with just general processing. But where are you? Oh, I'm in my room. I'm in my kitchen, right? Or wherever they say, are you safe? Yes. Okay. So bringing in that dual awareness, like I'm okay in the present,
Yeah.
and I'm right here with you. And some may need to know that in case it freezes. So let's say like the telecommunications freeze. I've got their phone. I
Mhm.
call them right away. I get them set up with blankets, their trash cans, their rock scents, whatever they need, and so they're ready. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
and it's really nice to see that. And when they do, obviously processing trauma, there can be levels of distress, but that reminder for them to like go back to the body, to
Mhm.
laser back to the target memory, whatever that point may be, and
Yeah.
that ongoing piece, their body's reacting, but they realize they're still okay, and it's just the past running through.
Mhm.
And again, once they get to the end, they're exhausted and great work.
Nap
Yeah,
time.
I'm going through it, but they're like, oh, okay, uh, this is good. So that's
Yeah.
nice.
That's beautiful. I love how you help them get set up ahead of time with, their safety objects or comfort items or things that help them feel safe and secure where they're at in their home, or wherever they are doing their session with you, so that if there is distress or an interruption, they're able to still stay connected to themselves in the moment, and the work, and find that sense of groundedness and security that way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's beautiful.
I have a little visitor, so being that I am in my home,
Yes.
may
Yes.
not be. She's also a helper. The clients seem to enjoy her, but I think she's just contemplating right now. Anyway, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Oh, cute. No, it's okay. I had my dog in here too. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
see,
Kitty.
this is Bodhi. She says
Oh,
hi. Clients enjoy her when she's around as well, but I excuse the interruption, but
it's okay. It's okay.
yeah, I've
Uh,
taken over her office, I guess you could say. So
yes, yes. She just wants everyone to know she's here too.
yeah, she's like I got you guys.
Exactly. So I know from my own experiences and from the experiences of other clinicians who work with folks who are overcoming complex trauma that they endured in childhood and kind of grew up in traumatic environments or relationships. I know that doing that work on a day-to-day basis with multiple clients every week can sometimes feel draining or overwhelming, or just sometimes it can feel like heavy work, or it's hard to create space for our own self-care, and our ways of, creating resilience and capacity to hold space as we continue to work with folks who are experiencing deep trauma, complex trauma, or even shared trauma with us right now. We're all experiencing the stress and trauma of this pandemic. And so I'm curious if you've noticed how this protocol has impacted your self care, your resilience, and your capacity to hold space for your clients.
So, Robin, I apologize. I think we froze in the
Oh,
middle.
okay. Okay.
But what I understand from what you asked is that given the just the amount of trauma processing, as far as working through, having many clients, multiple clients going through very hard traumatic memories, things obviously that we don't share with others, but even to talk about in general, in a general context, is not okay. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of, and we care. And for our clients, we hope that they're okay and that they're working through things all right. And so the question was about my self-care or their self.
Yeah, how you've noticed that using the assist, having that as part of your toolbox, having this way of helping folks decrease their distress, and in a way that seems to be pretty successful, as you stated. I'm wondering if that has impacted your self-care and your ability to, foster your resilience and continue to hold space for clients and the trauma that they're moving through.
Yes, there's something to be said about knowing what to expect, even though no session, no client is alike. But to have something you can count on, the protocol is very specific. Again, it's really returning to the body, returning to the target, and knowing that we're gonna be okay and get through it, I think helps me as a clinician, and also helps them. Seeing them feel the relief as well
Yeah.
helps me feel better at the end. And for personal stresses, I mean, there's, I would encourage all clinicians to utilize some, butterfly hugs and
Yeah.
just going back to the body, being okay. So it's, yeah, it's a wonderful tool all around.
Yeah. So it's something that, clinicians can use even for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great. Yeah. So in your experience, um, in working with your clients, you've kind of said this already a little bit. You've alluded to how much you love your work and the clients that you work with. But what's one or two or a few things that bring you the most joy in your practice?
So just whether it's at the end of the day or the end of a month or a few months, but just seeing the relief in the clients, just seeing them, some of them going back to what they knew was good or, feels right and peaceful and happy and, connecting all the dots. And then for some who never even knew what that felt like,
Mm.
that they've been holding their whole life, just, and again, going back to the body, you can just see they're, just being able to relax, to check in the next week. And they're at again, a 2 or a 3 between your 0 and 10,
Mm-hmm.
feeling all right. And just seeing that in their faces, they're smiling more.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are times where, as clinicians, I imagine we all go, man, I wonder if I'm doing any good. Like, am I helping this person? But then it all seems to fit. And again, going back to the assist, I think you can see that more frequently, going back to that somatic piece.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So those moments where, clients are able to really feel, in their, have that felt sense in their body, and may have that connection internally with how they, feel about themselves, and, what they're creating in life, and feeling that like, yes, this feels good. Either, like you said, they're coming back to it, they had that before, but it got interrupted, because of their experiences, or they're creating that sense for the first time. Like, that is fantastic. That is a great moment. That is definitely a joyful moment.
It makes everything worthwhile. I have people,
Yeah.
I don't know if as clinicians you get the question, like, how do you do what you do? Because I couldn't handle all that. And it's like, it's not, when you have the tools and you can help, that's what makes it exciting. And then when you see it actually work and it helps people and you see a difference in their lives, then that's what makes it all worthwhile. You
Yeah.
just, that's like, this is exactly why I'm here, because
Hmm.
there can be a change.
Hmm.
And it's wonderful to experience that with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Something you said sparked this question. It's a little kind of off the cuff question, not a question you were prepared for. But I'm curious how it was for you to implement this new protocol. When you were in the training, I know you saw opportunities for how you could use this. And I'm curious, was it relatively easy for you to integrate? Is it easy for you to explain to clients what's going to happen and what they need to do? Kind of explain for us, like, how that process went for you and how it goes for your clients when you introduce it to them.
Yeah. As you asked that, the first word that comes to mind is transparency.
Mm-hmm.
To let them know, like, okay, like I came back, like they already know I'm trained, I'm a professional. I work really hard to make sure they're okay. But coming back from the training um, and saying, okay, we've been working on these things. This is where we've we're maybe feeling stuck a little bit over here. I'm wondering, would you be interested in trying something? And this is how it works. And really going into the rationale, again, so that phase 2 of EMDR preparation, right? Where it's like, okay, this is how this works. This is how your brain works. This is how, this will help your adaptive information system. And again, depending on what age they
Sure.
are,
Mm-hmm.
but but yeah, and say okay, and I'm right, and again going back, and I'm right here. We'll just give it a try, and we'll see, and just being completely present with them,
Yeah.
and at that point, really being able to.
Mm-hmm.
I think once they try it and see,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a shifting point. They're like, I get that.
Okay.
And ones that didn't, whether they were re-traumatized by previous EMDR therapists or, just like, I don't really want to do this at all. Once they get that taste, it's really exciting to see them. They're like, so are we going to reprocess today or, desensitize? Like, yeah. So, but it's really just, I think just being open and letting them know exactly what it is and not trying to sugarcoat anything, reminding them this is really hard work,
Mm-hmm.
but these are some things to expect. And these are some things that, have happened for those who have done it before. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Just listening to explain that kind of eases, for like, you have a very calming and welcoming and gentle presence about you, and so the I having you explain that to me is like, yeah, I would try that. I would try something new, because knowing, having that transparency piece is so important. I know often clients come in not really knowing, like, what's the magic behind the curtain, like,
mm-hmm.
what's happening? Am I going to get to know why we're doing the things we're doing? And do I get a say, or do I just have to do this because this professional is telling me what to do? And I love that you provide the opportunity for them to understand what this is, and why you think it's a great experiment to try. And that at any point, if it's not working or not clicking, like, we don't have to do this. This is an experiment. We're going to try it. If it works, great. If not, that's okay too. There's many paths that we can walk along.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, this have them have the say, like give them the choice. So often they, it's a responsibility, safety, choice, right? And choices. And when we take that from them, we're not doing them any good. But as you said, yeah, we're just allowing them. And it can be varying degrees of that. Doesn't have to be all or nothing, but right. In the protocol, it's like, okay, and at any moment, and if you want to stop at a 3, or if you're going, would you like to go a little bit further, and just keep checking in with them, and giving them that choice and that voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So important. And that alone is healing, them experiencing
Exactly.
what it's like to use their voice and have their choice and have it be respected and honored. So
Yeah, some of them have never had that opportunity before, or at least not yeah.
some of them
So
haven't. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you do EMDR.
Hmm.
And I'm curious what your thoughts would be. Do you think that the assist protocols would be easy to use and implement for clinicians who don't practice EMDR therapy, who aren't necessarily super knowledgeable about the adaptive information processing system and network? What are your thoughts on that? I know we market it, right? We say yes, it's for all therapists. All therapists can do this. But I'm curious, from a therapist I'm talking to right now who uses this fairly regularly, how do you think this could work for clinicians who aren't trained in EMDR at all?
To be absolutely honest, I would be more at a caution
Mhm,
for just safety reasons for the clients too.
mhm,
I think there needs to be an understanding. I think the training, EMDR training, gives again the AIP model,
mhm,
that idea, that understanding of what's really happening underneath,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And being able to maneuver.
Yeah.
So it's funny, I joke with my clients because the assist, I sound like a broken record. I am repeating myself, the 4 same things, right? So where do you, okay, take a deep breath, observe your body, okay, 0 to 10, where is it? Okay. So I sound like a broken record, and it seems like it would be very easy and intuitive. And for the most part, it can be, but I would definitely caution
Mhm.
anyone to go out and try that without some further understanding or some form of EMDR training. At
Mhm.
the same time, I think that an, a trained EMDR clinician would benefit wonderfully with
Yeah.
these tools.
Yeah.
Having that, it's changed the way I've done EMDR as well.
Mhm.
So, but I
Mhm.
think that would be an important fundamental first step.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you for your candidness with that. I think it's important to hear, varying perspectives on the assist and how it can be used and how we can use it safely. And if that means learning a little bit more about, the AIP, the adaptive information processing model, or a little bit more about some of the underpinnings or how trauma works and is stored and how it can be moved through, on a cognitive level, through the body, all of those. I think that's a good thing for us to all remember, is that whatever protocols and tools that we're using, having the having enough knowledge holding that up, kind of the foundational knowledge, will absolutely help us to be able to use the protocols in ways that are safe and keeps the integrity of the protocol, and most importantly is what our client needs, that we're using in a way that meets their needs and that is helpful, right? We don't want
Yeah,
to cause harm. We want to be able to use a protocol that is going to be beneficial.
yeah.
And being able to know when it's not the right time or it's not working, or maybe we need to know more. So I really do appreciate your honesty there, because I think it's important that we remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. I do appreciate that because I do feel many clinicians, or at least Central Illinois, is not an area that has a lot of or there's no regional EMDR groups. There's
Okay.
not so much of the EMDR camaraderie, as well as the trainings and the, yeah. So people will train, and from what I've seen as a clinician who have had clients that have had EMDR, uh, trained EMDR clinicians do EMDR on them. I know it's very different than obviously the protocols that we're talking about, but just how easy it is to potentially re-traumatize. And if somebody with complex trauma veers one direction and you don't have the tools to bring them back, so you're doing an assist, but they can't stay in their body, and now they're, you know, reliving trauma without being, you know, having that dual awareness. Yes, that could be very devastating for the client. But again, just going back, 100% support on Dr. Herrera's models, the assist, because they once you have that foundation, I think that's where it's transformative.
Absolutely, yeah. Having the foundation of understanding how trauma works and how to recognize when a client is experiencing a reaction that is really strong, and maybe they're out of their body, or they're just really overwhelmed, they're out of their window of tolerance in one way or another, and being able to bring them back. So some knowledge and practice and experience in a EMDR, or maybe even another trauma processing model would be essential, or would be really helpful, really beneficial, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can get on board with that. And I feel like the assist is a really great kind of introduction into that process, and into opening up curiosity. What more can I learn to support my clients if I'm going to be using this? What more can I learn? Who can I talk with? And to get the support that I need to be able to use this in the best way that I can.
Yeah, and on that too, I believe Dr. Herrera had a YouTube clip where he, basically to anyone who's, let's do the butterfly, okay, and we're going back to the body, and this is how you do it. So again, there's something very, I don't want to say simple because our minds are not, but it is a process that you could just take and use and go, wow, okay, I see the difference, and it was just is there, and so absolutely.
Wonderful. Yes. So is the assist protocol something that you would recommend for your therapist friends and colleagues taking, so that they can apply this in their practices?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the entire training, Dr. Herrera's training, the IGTP, the pre-C, all of those really, it can be a dance, it depends, so with my kiddos, my young kiddos and my older kiddos, I mean, we do, the IGTP together, because that's something that feels more comfortable. And so that's helped with some. The pre-C, once again, getting reducing those levels of distress, and then processing on the ongoing spectrum. So in a long answer, yes, absolutely. So these are really wonderful. And again, just going back to the premise of returning to the body, because that's where where the trauma is stored, and that's where it can be healed.
Absolutely, yeah. And sounds like the assist makes the process of returning to the body a little less scary, a little more possible.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Lily, as we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to share with our viewers about your experience with the trainings, your experience with the protocol, and how they've impacted you in your practice?
I think we've really covered a lot. I get very excited and passionate about it. Every time there's a new tool, like when I actually started in social work, I was very discouraged because I didn't understand why. And so for a while I was working with teenagers in substance abuse, and why, this revolving door, and then you learned about trauma, and it's like, okay, but then what do you do? And then you have tools like EMDR, and then on top of EMDR you have, these tools like assist. And so yeah, I find it so incredible. I would recommend it, and definitely as I start my own consultation, and with the work that I want to do at the Larimar Center, this will definitely be, these will be protocols that I will also encourage to training and as well as discussion within consultation. So definitely part of the complete package that I would certainly recommend.
Well, I'm really excited for you to launch all of that and be able to be a mentor and a guide for other therapists wanting to utilize these protocols and more. So thank you very much. Where can people find you online? Do you have a website? What social media do you use for your business? What's the best way for people to find you if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. And at the same time, I've been so fortunate that since I've started, I've just minimal things have kept me going. But Psychology Today, Lily Anderson, LCSW, that's Central Illinois, certainly there, emdria.org. The LarimarCenter.org is one that I'm building right now.
Yep.
Needshelter.org for musicians, and actually for other clinicians who also, especially with speaking of these protocols, I'm hoping to reach out to clinicians that are interested in helping musicians during this pandemic in their own states with assist and pre-C and IGTP. So, but anyway, so needshelter.org. And so those are just places, but I'm definitely setting it up as I continue to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, we will make sure that we include those websites links in the description of the videos so that folks can find you. Thank you, Lily, again so much for being willing to share your experience with us and to uplift us with your amazing experience with the ASSIST protocol and the other protocols that we teach at Scaling Up. And thank you so much for doing the beautiful work that you do in the world every day with your clients. I know they must be very grateful to have you on the path of recovery with them.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity, and thank you for all that you do and for bringing these tools to all of us. So this is how we're able to help our kiddos, big and small. So
yes,
thank
absolutely.
you again.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. All right, everyone, that's our amazing Uplift interview with Lily Anderson, licensed clinical social worker in Illinois. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.